So my name is Trevor Dearing. I'm the Director of Critical Infrastructure Solutions. So basically that means that I work with groups like product management, engineering, as well as sort of technology alliances and our marketing people to look at how we can help organizations like hospitals, energy, manufacturers, those sorts of organizations that make up critical infrastructure in companies around the world.
Okay, now that you have spoken a little bit about protecting critical infrastructure, there is a trend that right now one of the things that hackers are targeting is the infrastructure from gas pipeline, hospitals to energy grids. So, what do you think? Why do you think there is a newer trend to that? Why is there an escalation in cyber espionage that we face?
Yeah, a lot of that is financial. So, if I'm an attacker and I can attack a hospital and I can say to you, if you don't give me $1 million, I'll block off or stop your intensive care working, then they're going to pay that. It's also like energy. If I attack an electric company and say, I'll stop you supplying electric to your customers, then they're going to pay up. So we see like a huge increase of in attacks on healthcare, even in the first half of the year, of about 328%. So that was in the HIPAA journal. And that's just in the first half of this year alone. And then you look at manufacturers, for instance, and about, a lot of companies are moving to this smart factory sort of in industry 4.0 sort of approach. And about half of those are sort of citing cybersecurity as a blocker to actually moving down that route.
Okay. I think it has started itself as one of those pioneers in the segment of zero trust.
Yes.
And there are several myths about zero trust. I think you can walk up to any single stand, they would be talking about it. And it is basically one of the most overused word in the industry.
Yeah.
So can you tell me what are the myths about it? And also, what exactly is it? Is it just a framework, or is it a principle? Is it more in the lines of a philosophy?
So it's quite interesting. So when it first started, so John Kindervag, who invented zero trust, basically he set out two principles. One which is assume that you have been breached or will be breached, and also only allow access on least privilege. So they're the two sort of core pieces. The challenge with zero trust is that no one owns it. So it's not like a lot of international standards or anything like that. No one owns it. So all the vendors have made up their own version of it, and that leads to a lot of confusion. But the good news is that in the US, President Biden said all federal agencies have to comply with zero trust. And what that meant is that the NIST organization then defined a zero trust architecture for federal agencies in the US, which is now almost the definitive document of what zero trust needs to look like. And so it sort of breaks down into several areas where you're looking at things like the need to identify assets, the need to map assets, how they connect, the need to apply identity to users, the need to segment your infrastructure. So in that way, I think we're moving forward with zero trust because finally an official body has then defined it. And what then happened is that a lot of cybersecurity frameworks around the world, including within the Gulf region that have been defined by the regional cybersecurity centres, have sort of followed a lot of that NIST practice.
Now that you did say that industries are taking, or governments in the world are taking zero trust more seriously, do you think there should be a global standard for cybersecurity law or a sort of a regulation which makes zero trust mandatory for companies across the world?
I think that's very difficult. I think one of the challenges you face is that different countries' approaches to cybersecurity is different. So in some countries it's very hands-on, that if there's a breach within critical infrastructure, the government agencies get involved. Whereas in other countries that's not going to happen. So I think the good thing, if you follow any of the NIST frameworks, they become the basis for a lot of other frameworks, but the legislation is then implemented on a country by country basis.
But again, I think NIST is just limited to US. It's not really everywhere.
Well, you're right, but if you look at even look at, say, the Australian cybersecurity infrastructure, if you look at in the UK, if you look at what's happening in like Saudi and here, a lot of that is based on NIST 800 or the NIST cybersecurity framework. So even though, yes, it's not an international standard, people are going, oh, that looks good, I'll use that.
Got it. Okay. And then I think, can you tell me a little bit about what are the newer kind of trends in cyber attacks that are happening, especially in the critical infrastructure that closely monitored?
Yeah, I think the attacks are, there's probably less of them, but they're more focused. So there's less of the sort of not pettier fire and forget sort of attacks, and more sort of very, very targeted attacks. And they can be more specific. So, it is possible to, maybe from a coffee shop in a hospital, to break through the system and be able to target a specific patient. So it's extreme, but it's the sort of thing that goes on. And also a lot of the cybersecurity gangs are focusing on how to evade the defenses. So obviously there's some very popular technologies out there that are looking at detection and things like that. And so a lot of the gangs are trying to evade those. So instead of them being 99% effective, they're now 97% effective. So, they're always trying to do that. So I think the trend for CISOs and security people is to look at what happens if I'm attacked? How do I build resilience into my organization to make it attack tolerant? So that, and how do I test that? So I think there's an emphasis on a lot of the security teams to do a bit more about testing. What's the plan? How do we recover? All of those sort of things.